So right now we've got leaders across the country who are scrambling to figure out what to do as it relates to the new normals of the COVID situation and how to operate a business and stay alive. And what we're realizing is that before we can focus on what to do, we have to focus on who we're being as leaders. And so we have decided we're going to bring together this conversation with two of the more remarkable leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with and meet in my lifetime as it relates to first deciding who they're going to be before they focus on what they're going to do. And those two people are Rod Hairston of Growth U, right? And it's growth-u.com, growth-u.com. And then Brad Casebier from Radiant Plumbing and Air down in Austin, Texas. And I have had the chance to work with these two gentlemen for years and been introduced to them over the years, and they've both been mentors to me. So this is exceptional leadership that we have privilege to have access to here. And inside of this conversation, one of the main topics that's come up is this idea of being in management of who you're being first and foremost as a leader. And so I've been watching Brad day in and day out. And I want to start with you, Brad, if you can just share briefly kind of the decisions and how this has affected you. And then to discuss what Rod's role in your understanding of this model has been inside of your career and the way that you've managed this crisis in what I would suggest is the top 1% of operating excellence in the country so far.
Well, thank you for that. I think everybody's doing the best they can with the tools they have, right? And I that's the truth. And I've spent probably the last 6 years or so really doing a lot of personal development, and it's really so funny how critical that is now, and learning the tools that I've learned in the application of this moment. And I think the idea that you're not a victim to your emotional state on a roller coaster going up and down, and this big thing comes and I'm just on this ride, as opposed to personal development really is this moment where you awaken and you see I've got a steering wheel and I don't have to be on the roller coaster, and I choose my state for the moment when it's required. And it requires a lot of focus and intention and purpose. But man, I know there's so many tactical conversations going on, and we're inundated with change and so much stuff. And so I just know that being very purposeful about who I need to be for this group, who I need to be for my family, is very different than who I need to be for my company or for my customers. I have to I have a lot of different identities I'm having to step into and be very purposeful about that. And then what the beauty of it is that I think personal development's gotten such a bad rap because it's like positive thinking. And I was like, these are ninja skills, because your ability to be creative and to be resourceful when you control your state is just 10x what it is when you're just being a victim on the ride. And so that's why we feel it's so important to really go ahead and have this conversation about state management and being so purposeful in what it is, how you're showing up to your team right now.
Amazing.
Oh, and Rod's been a mentor of mine for probably 4 or 5 years, and I'm privileged to call him a friend, but 20 years in this business plus of studying, psychology and human development. It's just an extraordinary resource. We're so grateful for you to take the time to talk to us today, Rod. Really appreciate it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And, I think Rod, Brad, you and I experienced Rod Hairston for the first time at the same time when we had the opportunity to bring him into that incredible Next Star event where he introduced us to this concept of state, deconstructing and then reconstructing your state, and the impact that has on the way in which we think and operate. And so, Rod, maybe that's the place to begin, is if you can just briefly introduce us to this concept. When we talk about state, physiological, emotional, mental state, what that means and how you guide people to have a greater understanding of the choices they have in this life and in moments like this.
Right. And I love what Brad had to say around be. You have to be before you can do or have. And part of being is recognizing that being is going to be your focus. So that's the first thing you have to look at. You have to have choice and focus, and you have to understand that we all do. So my focus, my language to myself, my self-talk, how am I communicating to myself? And then my physical expression, how am I carrying myself in this situation? That is very consistent to who you're being. Now, how do you wrap that up into one little package? What do I need to believe about this right now? So again, if you think about, if you listen to Brad's language, if you listen to your language, what made you guys superstars is that you would always create the belief that was consistent to the outcome or the vision that you had, never the circumstances. A lot of people talk about their faith in themselves and everything else. I look at everything as everything. Once it happens, I say, what do I need to believe? Right? How do I want to come out of this? And what do I need to believe to come out of this? And that becomes the most important thing. The vision of the aftermath, and who do I need to be moving into this to get to that vision, to the compelling future. So that's the first thing I did with my team, is said, what are we going to do after this? What country? We got into this debate whether we're going to go to Iceland or Guatemala. And everybody, and what are we going to say when we get there? How are we going to celebrate our success going through this, one of the most horrific situations for a lot of people? How are we going to be valuable? How are we going to congratulate ourselves? Now, what do we need to believe now to get to that place? And so that's one of the more powerful ways of getting that focused self-talk and physical expression in a powerful way without having to go through all of the science and growth and coaching that we went through to get here.
And Rod, that reminds me, that hits me with the Stephen Covey concept of start with the end in mind.
Yes.
And, this was not a prop. I was reading from this yesterday because we were doing some work on this, and I hear you describe that. And I'm wondering if you could give us just a little bit more specificity to then. So you started with, we're going to celebrate in either Guatemala or Iceland. Who do we need to be to get to that moment? Can you give me then a little further specificity to how that is manifesting itself in the day in and day out of your operation? What are the questions you're asking yourself more daily that are leading to your choices now that you're making?
And you guys said it, right? You said it starting it off, right? So who do I need to be? Well, your being, a lot of people say that, but again, your beliefs drive everything. So if I sit down and say, right now, what do I believe about this? So I got to look at my actions. So if I'm looking at the news and I'm terrified and I'm complaining and I'm upset and I'm nervous, but then I get on with you for a few minutes and I'm positive, that's not being. The being is what you're doing consistently. So the first thing I have to identify is I have to be vulnerable enough to say, I'm afraid right now. Okay. Well, if I'm afraid right now, what do I need to believe to get to where I need to be? I need to believe that I'm courageous. Well, what do I need to believe to find the courage to get to where I want to go? Well, I have to pull from my references. So you want to start asking yourself questions, because your questions will control your focus, and your focus will start supporting you in developing the belief systems that is going to get you to that result, right? So I go from what do I believe today to what do I need to believe to then this is what I want, right? And then I start the process of integrating those new belief systems, right? I start talking to people, hey guys, we got calls like every hour with our team in some way. And we always start every one of our calls, even before client calls, well, what are we believing about this right now? What do you believe this is? What do you believe this is here to do? Nobody knows, so make up your own, right? Nobody knows anything. Your story is the best story you got, because your nervous system is going to respond to that, right? Getting caught up in a conspiracy theory is a beautiful way of controlling your attention. There's nobody organized enough to create a worldwide conspiracy theory without somebody throwing them under the bus. So you're wasting your time. Create your own conspiracy theory about who you're going to be when this is done, right? So my conspiracy theory is I'm going to be in Iceland looking at the Northern Lights when this is all said and done. And this is what I need to believe to get there. I need to believe that I'm strong enough, I'm smart enough, I'm a leader enough, I'll find the courage. I need to believe that I can bounce back from any situation that happens. and I need to go down, then the next thing I need to do is utilize that influence with the people that I have direct access to, right? I can't control them, but I can influence them. And that's very, very important to think that way.
And so, Brad, you and I have had the chance to be mentored and to learn from Rod's teachings over the years. So now I think what I'd like to do is take that philosophy and that belief-based approach and ask you to describe, just take us through today. How did this show up for you today? Like, how did you choose who you were going to be today?
Oh man. It's profound. I literally broke down in tears in a meeting today.
I was there.
Yeah,
I saw it, and then I cried.
It's really interesting because the natural the fear is I'm going to lose the things I built. I have worked. My wife and I have worked to the bone. We've sacrificed so much to build this company that we have. And yeah, we don't want to lose that. That's real, And if but when I really analyze who I need to be in this moment, like any time that I show up and I'm showing my company, I'm trying to defend the thing I've built. They're scared for their lives right now. They can't relate. They need me to be there for them. And so what my exercise is, the way I apply it, is I really take a moment and I take a second to really try to step into their world and really take on the things that they're tackling. Their friends are getting laid off. Their wife might have gotten laid off. We're an essential service, so my people are still out working. They're being potentially exposed to this virus. They don't get to work from home. They're scared. They don't know what that all means. And then reel that back in. And now, so I've experienced their world. Now I come and how can I serve you? And then my business side as a side effect of my service to them, instead of I need to get them enrolled so that my business can survive. And then it's a small nuance, but it's the gap's a mile, It's like, I just said the right thing because I'm going to put employees first, but so I can get my outcome. My agenda is still my agenda, right? And so if I can really feel their experience and then approach them and try to meet their needs, then my business outcome will be a side effect of me taking care of them. That's really how I see my job. And today it showed up in the management team because we all became 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. And I never even asked anybody to, it's just everybody stepped into what was required. And because of who we are, we have a high degree of expectation for delivering very professional level of results. So the intensity went to 11, and we're not dropping the bar on our expectation of professionalism. And I kind of called somebody that he hadn't gone through the process. And then I was just like, I'm so sorry, you guys. And I kind of stepped into in their world, they're scared too. They're trying really hard, and everybody's trying to even understand what's happening, much less, it's one thing when we're repeating something we've done before. We're inventing on the fly, and it's life and death. So the stakes are really high, and I just got to really experience my manager's space, and I just like they're giving so much right now, and it's genuine, I really feel for them. And in turn, I've got a team that really gets that. I get them, I'm with you. I'm not worried up here trying to protect the piggy bank.
Well, and let me just offer an example that I got to witness of this. Last night, a email chain at Radiant Plumbing and Air went around, totally organic, from an employee to all, just coming exclusively from a place of gratitude for the leadership that you and Sarah are exhibiting right now. And yet I've been on the backside of watching you engineer your policy, and never once was your goal to make sure that your employees knew they were being cared for. Your goal was to make sure you were caring for your employees. And that subtle distinction, that it had nothing to do with creating what was going to be reciprocated. It was exclusively in giving without the intent to get anything back. And then suddenly it showed up in abundance, right? And this is one of those critical concepts, because we, I know that the three of us in our world of ongoing personal development and growth look at this idea of abundance versus scarcity mindset. And I think sometimes we tend to share it. I'll speak for myself. I tend to share it and think that others are able to grasp where we're coming from when we talk about this, but I don't think it's that clear. And I want to offer that to me, Brad, this was an example of abundance mindset. And here's what I think of when I think of abundance mindset. It's when we're looking at what we can create, we're in abundance mindset. When we're looking at what we're going to get, we're in scarcity mindset. That's the most simple explanation I have for it. And I watch you and Sarah do that by creating love and care for your team. Suddenly it was clear and it was evident. And it wasn't designed to get it back. You created it by giving it. And so I'd like to just offer that as an example and then ask, Brad and then Rod, what in sort of your 30-second, 1-minute rendition of what abundance versus scarcity looks like for you, how does it show up for you? What's your version of it?
I think for me, I think you said it very well. Abundance for me is making a purposeful decision to find the opportunity in the situation. Like there's possibility. It's a purposeful focus for possibility. And scarcity is I need to defend and protect. I think that's one closes and the other one opens. I think that's probably my 10 peso version.
Amazing. And Rod, how about for you?
Abundance is vulnerability, and a vulnerability of believing that everything that I teach is actually true. So if it's all about who you become, if it's all about being a co-creator, if you do have 100 billion brain cells, if we are supposed to be first before we do, then I have to be vulnerable to that, which means my ego has to take a back seat. Mm-hmm. And so that's how I look at abundance, is vulnerability to my power.
And that really fits with what Brad said too, because the opposite of that vulnerability would be operating from a place of fear and protection, and that's the scarcity part. And so when I hear you say the abundance, it's acknowledging the fear and facing it with courage anyway. And that's a beautiful. And so, because I think here's what I see. I see a lot of people, especially right now, and I can even speak to my own example of this. Because I'm not enlightened to the point that I operate from this place automatically, not even close. Like I have to very consciously reset into an abundance mindset. When this whole thing hit, my first thought was, I'm going to lose my job. There's no way. I'm a public speaker. I can't travel. I can't go down to Texas. I can't go. And where am I going to get my work? And my immediate thought was to want to hold on and try to, and that led me to a place of insecurity. And I had to formally make a choice to work out of that and say, hold on a second. We know that doesn't work, Keith. Like that is not abundance mindset the way you've been taught. And that was a shift to say, what can I contribute right now rather than what can I get and hold on to? And from that place, it completely shifted my state into a place of being a contributor rather than a protector of what I've been from a place of pure fear. But I think the reason I want to share that is because people right now don't see abundance in their life. So when we ask them to come from an abundance mindset and they're thinking, well, I don't have a lot right now, that's going to what we actually have versus what we can give and what we can create. And that's a really important distinction inside of this. And so, as what sort of guidance would you give to someone who has lost their job, is in fear of losing their job, is operating from a place of genuine physical scarcity in what they have? How do they move into an abundance mindset right now? You want to jump in and start us off here if you feel.
Well, and it's going to be counterintuitive, but when you want to jump into an abundance mindset from a place of fear and scarcity, then you must understand the true meaning of gratitude. So gratitude isn't like, oh, Pollyanna, let me look at everything. No, gratitude is saying to your $1 billion mind, Let's only concentrate on the things that we want to build on, not on the things that's not in our control and we're not responsible for. So the science of gratitude is, when I'm grateful, I automatically think of the things that I love, the things that I created, the things that brought me emotional fulfillment, the things that calibrate high in my life. My unconscious mind then responds to, oh, let's create more of that. Oh, let's create more of that. Okay, let's find more of that. What questions do I? So the mind starts responding to that level of emotion and that level of focus that I'm putting into, or I'm reminding the mind of what I wanted to create. That's what gratitude does. And then what it does, it becomes infectious, because when you come from a state of gratitude, people then they feel pulled to that. They feel sort of connected to that level. So that's number one. Gratitude has two children. Her children are creativity, right? Real creativity and true connections. So when you're operating from gratitude, your abundance is going to start showing itself in ways of, you got to remember, 100 billion brain cells, the calculations and permutations of what you're capable of are infinite. When you operate in gratitude, your mind then starts to want to give you more of that. So it starts saying, hey, look at this, Rod. Look at that. Look at this opportunity, right? We like this thing that you're giving us. We like that bone of gratitude. It tastes really well. So what else do we got to do to get that for it? And so I got all of these ideas, and quickly my business has gone like this, right? Not because I wanted it to, but because I understand principle. I understand law. The second part is true connections. Just like Brad and just like you, the people on my team all went into another gear. They're happier than ever. Why are they happy in this situation? Because we get an opportunity to be valuable. And we get a chance to really experience the bond that we have as a team, right? It's tested now, right? And so just like in the military, when you deployed, you really enjoyed not the danger or the chance or the risk, but the bonding that you had as a squad. And so I think the fulfillment from this for us has been because of gratitude. Gratitude lends itself and leads us to abundance. But that's my steps in getting there.
Incredible. And that's, and Brad, I hear you say probably more often than almost anyone I've ever met, you speak to your gratitude. You talk about what you're grateful for. And that was the meeting today where you became emotional was purely from gratitude. So, anything that you can lend to this, both in philosophy and practicality, like, do you go out of your way to practice a prescribed measure of gratitude? Is it just a natural resting mindset for you? Like, where does your gratitude come from?
So I fell into a great midlife crisis and deeply depressed. I got all successful and achieved everything and beyond what I had planned on, and realized there's absolutely nothing there. So it's very common story, right? And so the path out for me was gratitude. And like, if you're watching the video and don't even take anything away, if you can just like start writing out gratitudes every day and reflecting back on them, it'll turn your life upside down for the good. I mean, it's the most powerful thing I've ever done in my entire life. And because it was the medicine that was getting me better, I just committed to just a deep, deep focus on gratitude all the time. And I don't have a practice now. I really don't. I think it's a muscle memory at this point that I tend to lean towards. When I feel pain, I look for the good. I just immediately want to go there. But again, I had to train that. It was years and years of training to where I don't, I'm grateful. and I'm not always grateful. And I see myself having bad behaviors, and then I step up and try to own that as quickly as I can with my team or whoever I'm behaving badly with, and get myself back to my best self, who I know I can be and want to be for the people I care about.
And I feel compelled in this moment to share how this showed up and was taught to me, because my understanding is that fundamentally gratitude becomes the core muscle to resilience, and that it's through the constant practice of gratitude that we start to build new neural pathways that help us see possibility when circumstances don't naturally appear as advantageous, such as this. And as a result, we had developed, and I still teach and have taught to tens of thousands of people the 5-5-20+1 morning routine. And Rod, I think this is going to lend really well to something you were sharing with us before the call about self-care right now. But very quickly, it's about first thing in the morning, waking up with a level of discipline and listing 5 gratitudes specific to that moment. Then listing 5 goals for the day about what the person would do. If you're being the person you want to be, what would that person do today? And creating a very short-term goal list of how you're going to show up today. And then engaging in 20 reps of an exercise of some sort, push-ups or squats or something like that, and then adding one each day for a particular period of time to actually start your day with an accomplishment. And this whole thing was designed around the concept of state, of, it's evoking focus, language, and physiology to create your state first thing in the morning and start to work those new neural pathways just like you work a new muscle group. And, as I share that, Rod, any thoughts or feedback on that? And you were starting to talk about the importance of self-care, and I feel like maybe that lends itself well to that topic as just one example of something that could practically start somebody out in the experience of gratitude right now and how they go about exercising it.
Keith, I think you just gave everybody a beautiful, beautiful routine, right? And remember, as humans, we love routines and rituals because it allows us to satisfy that nervous system with a feeling of certainty. So right now, guys, we need our routine and rituals. So getting up in the morning, even if it's a 10-minute meditation around what you're grateful for, please listen back to exactly the way Keith laid it out. He gave you the perfect formula for whoever you are. It's the consistency. It's not about doing it perfect. It's not about how long you do it. It's not about being significant in a practice so you can go brag to people. It's about feeding the mind what it needs. The mind is going to be distracted by the noise, or it's going to listen to your instruction and your guidance, right? Really recognize that you are responsible for you. You need to observe yourself and how you're being. If you listen to Brad talked about the magnified rebound. So guys, a lot of you are listening and you're going, I'm not going to be able to do it. Exactly, because we're not able to do it. We rebound to it, right? That's what makes life great. If life was always amazing, then it wouldn't be worthwhile. So it's a lot of times we get caught up in listening to people like Keith and listening to Brad and the Rod, the Hairstons of the world. And you think that we are saying that we walk around perfect. Not at all. I just have something to bounce back to. And in that contrast is life, right? And each time I bounce back stronger. I bounce back stronger. I bounce back stronger. Now, sometimes I bounce back and I didn't know I fell. So I fall fast and I bounce back quickly. I fall fast and I bounce back quickly. And I don't apologize for anything because the fear you're feeling right now is completely justified. The uncertainty you're feeling is completely justified. We're giving you something to bounce back to so that you understand the contrast and you understand what life is all about. So really just want you to listen to what Keith had to say. That's the best self-nurturing I've heard in a long time.
Thank you for that. And thank you for giving me permission to forgive myself, because I got to tell you, I think it was, the days have all blended. I think it was Tuesday that I went down into a wormhole, got engaged in online arguments, and I was insulting people. So that's how quickly we fall. And it was only the day before that I turned to my wife and I was like, I'm really proud of how I'm handling this situation. And then the next day did something that has kept me up 2 nights in a row, because I'm just like, what a loser, man. So thanks for giving me permission to forgive myself for that too. And
Absolutely.
I think that's really important. Yeah.
The contrast matters, guys. The yin and the yang, the up and the down, right? It's the beautiful thing is how quickly can you bounce back, and how quickly can you then use that bounce back as an example for somebody else to bounce back. That's the key. That's the key.
Oh, thank you. And Brad, just for you, I'm watching your team respond with gratitude, and you've made this really important distinction that I am marveling at right now, because I'm watching you live into it every single day, that of being in this delicate balance of how you're going to continue to serve your people, protect your people, and almost having to make decisions on their behalf as it relates to just like truly honoring them. And so just tell me, as a business owner right now, what is the cadence and the filter of your decision-making process? Because your operational excellence has been extraordinary, but you're not waking up every day thinking about what you need to do. You're thinking about who you need to be. And what's the filter that you use to make your decisions from who you're being?
Well, okay. So at different times, there could be different priorities, right? And this is new for us, but this is a health crisis. And so, and because I'm putting, I have to be, I'm responsible. I'm at the top of the pyramid, so I am responsible. And now we have this really significant health situation going on, right? And so it's like, okay, I think it'll go away someday, and we'll be able to operate business. And me taking care of my human beings is just the most paramount thing right now. That's really all that matters. And so that's the basis of every decision starts from there. And just there's so much focus in trying to learn as fast as we can when we need to about this and about protection gear and things we've never known before. I think I don't know, man. It is a delicate balance, and we have a social responsibility not to spread the virus. We have a cultural responsibility to keep functional systems working. We have people with flooding houses and stuff, and it's us to do that. My people never went into this business to be a first responder. They just wanted to fix stuff. That was not part of the deal. And so the deal changed on them. And then I'm not going to force anybody to take a life-threatening situation and sign up for it. This is not the Army, And so it's just an extraordinary set of circumstances that were dealt really quickly and have to make decisions really quickly. So I don't know if I'm answering your question very well, but it's, I think you have to prioritize whatever it is you're up against, whatever your challenge is currently. If connection, I love your reference to connection. This is key. The human beings are key. And I guess I would like to loop back. You talked about finding the opportunity in a situation. And I think that could be so easily misconstrued from a listener about like how to profit out of this situation. And sure, that's an option too. You can find a way to profit out of the situation. But again, what's your intent, right? And if we're really, like, this is one of those moments in history where as a society or as a human being, you really start to see who you are and what motivates you. What is your real motive? What do you want out of this? And who do you want to be? And sometimes it's tempting to kind of follow that trail of possibility, like of what we could sell and do. But then really you got to come back down to the human situation that we're in. And like, if we can, what's the opportunity that I can give? What's the opportunity that I can be of value to my people, to society right now? And what's my responsibility in protecting and balancing all that? So I don't know that I've managed the filter thing very well, but I'm juggling.
Well, you nailed it. Let me share with you, because I heard it very clearly. Your filter is, your filter is you're making decisions based on the health and well-being of your people. It was very simple. That's your filter, not, how we're going to profit from this, not how we keep the business. Like, literally, the decision filter for you is the health and well-being of your people. And I can speak to this again in a practical term. I watched you do this earlier today. Yesterday, we came up with an advertising campaign that we know would have made the phones ring. And we've been very cautious of the morality and ethics of this situation. Nevertheless, you went into a deeper level of consideration of it, asking yourself whether it was the right thing to do, and you decided to shelf a campaign that we know would have driven business, that was, still coming from a good place, but with the absolute foremost concern being the health and well-being of your people and doing what's right by them. I watched you do that between last night and today. And so that's a perfect example of how you're leading to these decisions. And so with that, I want to just end here. I'm open to final thoughts, and then I have one final question for each of you. So if there's anything, Rod, that you'd like to add to that, or Brad, that you'd like to add to that, I want to open the floor, and then I'll ask one final question to you.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's in Brad's nature to be that way. And if you're not naturally that way, leaders, it is in your best interest to adapt and adopt the style that is going to put your people first. Right? And again, only because this is an opportunity for all of us to reset and come out of this stronger than we went into it. Okay? There's a new normal. Allow what is going to happen, and just believe that you're going to come out stronger, better, and more valuable to the world. And I promise you, some of you are going to have to work harder at it than others, but this is Brad's nature. This could be your nurture. Start developing it. Start changing some belief systems. Only choice you have.
Amazing. Brad, any final thoughts that you want to share here?
Oh, that's very flattering, and thank you. I work at it. It's not. Anyway, I would say there's a huge number of leaders out there who really made a lot of big mistakes, probably leading up to this, and they are in a position where they have to be wrong, and it's kind of an indefensible point even. at this stage, like you may have been right 2 weeks ago, but today, like if you're still being cavalier and not keeping your people safe, you really need to do a heartfelt apology, and you can still win your people back by really just saying, you know what, I was wrong, and man, I'm deeply regretful.
Brad, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think that if you've gotten on the wrong side of this and you made the wrong call and you haven't been taking care of your people, you need to really apologize from a sincere place, and you can recover. I believe you can recover your team. I think that's where you start, and then start this gratitude work and start really honoring the people that work for you, and start working for them. I think that would be a really great perspective shift.
Beautiful. Thank you, man. So I will end with a question that I learned from Brad. And it's just this idea of shifting from, when all we do is focus on what's going on with COVID, it's really moving people into a state of scarcity. And when we think about the highest level of emotional influence, it's about the ability to influence others, become aware of, and then influence others. And so my final question for both of you is, what's the one thing you're most looking forward to doing when this whole quarantine period is over?
Well, I'm going to Iceland with the team.
We know this.
And I look forward to sort of how we all come out of this. I look forward to the new normal. I love life. And I love the ups and downs of life. I love the hard knocks and the beautiful things. I love it. And so I'm falling in love with the opportunity to become more bonded. I'm falling in love with the global connection, and I'm looking forward to see the beautiful that comes out of this. And I look forward to mourn the sadness in this as well, and it's life.
Awesome. Wow. Brad?
That's really cool. I will ditto. A piece of that is that this areas I'm being stretched and growing. I always feel like there's a purpose in my life, and everything that's been dumped on me is to make me become more for the next thing. And I am being stretched right now, and it's extraordinary to watch what I'm learning in this process, and that's a joy. Now, what do I want to do afterwards? I'm gonna go bass fishing. Like, I just want to get out on the lake and I'm done with it. I'm ready to go. How about you, Keith?
Man, I can't wait to hug people again. That's the thing I miss the most, and you guys are going to be at the tops of my list. So thank you so much.
All right.
This really meant a lot. Love you guys.
Love you too. Thank you. Thank you so much.